Hey, welcome everybody. Brother Goodwin here. We got an exciting program for you. We have a special guest in the studio. We got an evangelist Tim Booth. Some of you may have heard of him. He preaches around the country, and we're going to hear him today. He's going to share some things about prophecy, and I'm going to ask him some questions. And I want to see what he's seeing around the nation, what he's seeing in our churches, and whether he feels like we're at the end of this thing or not. So stay tuned. Hi, everybody. Good to see you here. We have a special guest, as you can see. We got Brother Tim Booth, Evangelist Tim Booth. Brother Booth, you're older than I believe you're
Yes.
69.
Correct.
And he was just showing us a picture of him and his wife in 1976. You were 19 or 20?
I was 20.
Yeah.
Yes.
And wow, 1976, a long time ago. And so why don't you, since our audience, most of our audience probably don't know you. Some of our folks will, because you've been out there, and in independent Baptist circles, a lot of people know who you are. Take a few minutes, tell them about your upbringing and how you got saved and how you're called to preach and that kind of stuff.
Okay. Yes, sir. I tell everybody I grew up in California, but it's okay. I got over it.
Got over it.
And my dad was a pastor, and when I was born, he was pastoring Faith Baptist Church in Strathmore, California, and so I grew up in church, heard the gospel all my life. Of course, didn't guarantee me anything until I realized as a young boy that I was on my way to hell, and I needed the Lord and needed His forgiveness, and went forward in church on a Sunday morning, weeping, and my daddy came down from the platform and took his Bible and showed me how to be saved, and I trusted Christ as my Savior, and began my Christian life. My dad, when I was in fourth grade, my dad got out of the ministry, went through some difficult times, and a doctor told him he needed to get out of the ministry or he'd die. Dad did get out of the ministry, and then through my teenage years was out of the ministry until I was in Bible college. He actually went back in pastoring. Mm-hmm. But during that time, we were in some churches. There were always independent Baptist churches, but there were several dead ones that didn't really affect me much. And as a teenager, I got into sports and went to public high school, and I'm the youngest of four. My brother was also in that high school, and we were real involved playing sports all year round, and got interested in just being popular and trying to be the big hot dog in the high school. And my brother started going to another church, another independent Baptist church, because there was a girl there that he was interested in, and she wouldn't date him unless he went to her church, so he felt led. And they've been married over 50 years now. But she had a real good testimony. And so I started going there. My parents then also went there, and thank God for that pastor. Had a great impact on me. And he preached with the power of the Spirit of God, and he wasn't afraid to preach the truth. And that's what I needed to hear. And God broke my heart. I was 15 at the end of ninth grade, and I just surrendered and said, Lord, I don't want to be in charge anymore. You take charge of my life and whatever you want. Shortly after that, I went to a teen camp. Preacher, I believe he was 83, still fired up for the Lord. He preached and preached a powerful message on being a soldier in the army of Christ. God just squeezed my heart. I knew He was calling me to be a preacher. And I went forward again. My heart was broken. I said, yes, Lord, if that's what you want. And so God began to work and direct me. Went to Bible college, to a place I'd never been in my life, and to a pastor I'd never heard preach in my life. But I knew that there were winning souls there, and that's what I wanted to learn, to be an effective soul winner. Mm-hmm. And graduated from there, pastored for 20 years, and then I was been in evangelism for 27 years, and through those 27 years, there was a period of time where my wife went through some real health challenges that I had gone into evangelism, and then I went back to pastor for 11 years. And then in 2008, I went back into evangelism and been traveling full time with that.
Now, brother, the lady that your brother was courting,
yes,
is she still alive?
She is, yes.
Any chance that she would watch this show?
Maybe if I told her.
Yeah.
Maybe if I told him.
What's her first name?
Danita.
I wonder, Miss Danita, if you're watching, I wonder if you realize how important your decision was to only date somebody that was spiritual, and that it affected someone else's life. And you've affected thousands of lives around the country in all these years. Look at the hand of God here.
Yes.
Just the simple thing of your brother wanting to date a girl, and he had to go to that church to do it, and somehow you went with him.
Right.
And your life was changed.
Absolutely.
So she had a part in that.
Absolutely.
So that's very interesting.
Powerful, isn't it?
Yeah. And the hand of God, sometimes you don't see these things until going forward, and then you look back and you can see the hand of God in history.
I agree, brother. I don't think we put enough emphasis on just our daily testimony.
Yeah.
And we don't know how it's affecting others, but it affects others.
Yeah, it sure does. Yeah. Well, I want to read a passage, brother, in 2 Timothy 3. We use this a lot here at Prophecy in the Spotlight, but it's an important prophetic passage. And I want to read just some of it here. I probably won't read it all, but very familiar to everybody. This know also, this is 2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 1. This know also that in the last days, now that's pretty plain. Paul is talking about the last days. Now he doesn't mean just the New Testament age. I believe Paul is talking about the last days before the return of the Lord Jesus. This know also that in the last days perilous times shall come, dangerous times, peril. For men shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, without natural affection, truce breakers, false accusers, incontinent, fierce, despisers of those that are good, traitors, heady, high-minded, lovers of pleasures more than lovers of God. I could read on, but we'll stop right there. This is a sign of the world around us. This isn't really a church sign here, although some of this could apply inside the churches, I guess. This is mainly what I call the signs of the times concerning people of the world around us, dangerous times. Mm-hmm. Personally, I believe this is us today. If you go to the big cities around the country, around the world, it's getting dangerous. Yes. Perilous times are here. I mean, when men are lovers of their own selves, that alone is dangerous. If men are in love with themselves but not their fellow man, and you see that on the highway when you're driving, people cut you off and
see that in our political leaders.
Yeah. So what I wanted to ask you concerning this passage, you're a preacher, you've traveled to churches around the country. I got a couple questions. First of all, I want to know, do you see this around the country in your travels? Do you see that this is coming to pass and that we are in these times?
Oh, 100%, brother. I mean, it's so obvious. I don't know anybody that doesn't have their head in the sand that could not see those things are so descriptive of the world we're living in.
Yeah. So, as an evangelist, what does a preacher do about this? What does a pastor do if he believes this? How do you handle this?
You know, I think, Brother Goodwin, one of the greatest challenges is, though we who are saved, we still live in this world.
Yeah.
And this world affects us.
Yeah.
And you begin to see these things you read about that's in this world influencing the thought patterns of those who claim to be Christian.
Yeah.
And so a pastor has to be aware. And I think a man of God is not here to be popular. He's here to help people and point them to Christ. And that means you got to tell the truth. And sometimes we have a lot that's going on that people just want to be petted and feel good.
Yeah.
But the truth is what sets us free, and you got to point out truth. I ought to do it lovingly, but you got to be biblically right and point out the truth, or you don't help them.
I think and I've given a lot of thought to what I'm going to say here, and I want to get your take on it. We have said for years that the church is getting bad because the world around us is influencing us. I'm not saying that's not true, but I have a different take on that. I want to throw this out to you here. You don't have to agree with me, though I'm sure you will.
Yeah.
But I look at it differently. I think the church has lost its influence on the world. And as the church goes bad, and as we lose our convictions and our standards and our modesty and morality, I think as the church goes bad, it's like the salt. If the salt is not salty, how will it salt the air? How will it preserve? So I think as the church goes bad, the world around, the community around us goes bad. Do you see it that way, or do you see it differently?
I do, brother. Of course, I agree with you because I don't want to get in trouble. But but I see both sides of it.
Yeah.
And I think it works together because when we were talking about this some when we were coming here, that when we leave the doctrine of separation from the world, then that world will influence us. If we're going to hobnob all the time, and then we allow the world to influence us, and it's a double-edged sword, and then we lose our influence on the world when we don't have the courage to stand. When you separate from the world, doesn't mean you think you're better.
Right.
Doesn't mean that you despise the people in the world. No, we love them. We want to reach them.
It's kind of like the gasoline. If we could personify gas, make it a person or a metaphor, so to speak. If the gas mixes with the water, it's not going to be very effective. Right. And that's a good illustration. I think as the church loses its qualities of the gas, we no longer have that spark anymore. Boy, be careful about that spark around gasoline. But then the engine isn't going to run good, and it's not going to get around town and influence other people. Kind of corny illustration, maybe, but
it's exactly right, brother. And of course, you and I just really got acquainted here in the last year, and it's been a blessing. I've read several of your books. I make no boast of being an expert on prophecy. There's a lot that has helped me just kind of put together some things that I wasn't real clear about. The framework, I was with you the whole way, but in those, it talks about the Laodicean church. Yeah. And there's no doubt we're seeing it.
That's us.
That's us.
See, that's a passage that's a church prophecy.
Right.
Matthew 24 is Israel. Revelation chapter 2 and 3 is the church as it's going to exist. I think that seventh church, the Laodiceans, notice how it's not the church of it's the Laodiceans.
Right.
It's not the church of Ephesus. It's not the church of Philadelphia. It's the church of a group of people. Something's changed with that one. Kind of like the invisible church that us Baptists talk about.
Right.
So that's a passage, no doubt, that's talking about what the church is going to be like. And the main thing that I see there is they lost something. They lost their hold on the book, the Word of God. Oh, they still have Bibles, too many Bibles, two different versions, but we've lost our hold on the King James Bible and that final church age. And that's where we're at. And God says, I counsel thee, buy me gold, tried in the fire, that thou mayest be rich. So now with that in mind, of course, the book of Revelation, guess who that was written to? The pastors.
Right.
Because John was told to write it down and send it to the angel of the seven churches, the angels.
Right.
And I believe that angel is not a literal angel. Otherwise, you'd have airmail. And God doesn't use man to send a message to an angel. I mean, that's common sense. God uses angels to bring a message to man sometimes. Not often, but sometimes. I believe what the angel is in Revelation in them seven churches is the pastor of them local churches. here's what hit me a couple years back. That makes the pastor the missing link of prophecy.
Mm.
The book of Revelation, one of the most prophetic books in the entire Bible, was not written to the common guy or the church members, so to speak, although we certainly have it. It was originally given to the pastors to be shared and preached to their people.
That's excellent.
Now that brings me to my next thing that I want to ask you about here and get your comments here. Doesn't that make the pastor an important piece of the puzzle of people understanding prophecy today?
Absolutely.
And
I think that's an excellent point.
do you think our pastors have, not all of them, but do you think a lot of our pastors have dropped the ball here?
I think so, brother. And of course, as an evangelist, my heart is burdened for pastors. I love preachers. I think growing up a preacher's kid, the Lord put that in my heart.
Yeah.
I love pastors and their families. I want to be a blessing and encouragement to them. You go back to training. You know, a pastor goes to a Bible college. He's trained. You know, are we? You know, and I'm very grateful for where I went to Bible college, and you and I talked about that, and I'm grateful for many things that I was taught.
Yeah.
There were things lacking that I look back now after all these years in the ministry, you know, that is there enough emphasis put on biblical interpretation? No.
Mm-hmm.
And study and preparing and prophecy and learning, you know, I think there's a lack in some of our independent Baptist colleges, and I've got friends that have Bible colleges, and I love them. I'm for them. I don't attack, you know, but we got to get honest about, okay, where's some things we really need to step up on?
Yeah. I tell people often, and sometimes preachers, but I tell them, if let's just say we are in the last days. I mean, let's say we're months or a year or two away. I mean, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I tend to think we possibly are, but who knows? Let's say we are very close to the end. Wouldn't that make prophecy more important than it's been like 20 years ago? Wouldn't it be?
Absolutely.
Wouldn't it be more important?
Absolutely.
Wouldn't it be something that the pastors ought to be talking about? Say, hey, we better get ready. Time is short. If you're going to get your mom saved, you better get her saved because the trumpet's getting ready to sound and it's going to be over.
Absolutely.
I look at this like the Indianapolis 500. And I'm not a race fan. My brother Steve's a big race fan. He'll sit down and watch that. I joke about it. I said, man, you can watch it later. Just go to all the wrecks. And you want to see the wrecks and the big crashes and cars flying around in the air, you know. And the last two laps, all you got to watch. That's where the race is won or lost. It's too late to go get gas. It's too late to get your tires changed. Right. There's 2 laps to go. This is it. It's do or die. Put the pedal to the metal and see which guy gets to the finish line first. And that's it. So, but they'll sit there for hours, you know, watching and I'm just fun. And I know some of you guys that like race the Indianapolis 500, NASCAR racing. Yeah. It's just not my thing. But I look at it this way. I think what is it? Not the white flag. That means there was a wreck. There's a flag they raise when there's 1 lap to go, and I forget what color that flag is. That lets you know this is it, and it's not time to, it's not time to go get your tires rotated. It's not time to go get topped off on gasoline. This is do it because if you do, you've lost. This is it. This is the last lap. I've got to give it everything I've got if I have a chance of winning. Now, if you're already 3 laps behind, it's too late for you. But I think that's an illustration of today. I think we're on that last lap. Now, does that last lap mean we got a month or a year? I don't know. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying we're in the final moments of this thing. And if that's true, don't we need to put the gas pedal down? Don't we need to give it all we got? That's all I'm saying.
Absolutely, brother. And I'll tell you honestly, and I'm not trying to just pat you on the back, but reading your books in the last couple of months, I got under conviction that, Lord, I should have been much more focused and studied my prophecy better. Yeah. And it really has. It really, because I agree with you 100%. I think I think it could be any minute. And I'm excited about it, but I want to be able to pass that on to people. And it has really challenged me.
Yeah. I think there's 2 or 3 reasons why a lot of our men of God, and I'd like to help them. I believe I can help them.
Mm-hmm.
I believe I'm a simple guy. Sometimes people think that I'm real smart. I'm not smart. I'm not smarter than anybody else. I write my books. I write things in a way that I can grasp it. I find illustrations to explain stuff. I try to write on the bottom shelf. I don't use a lot of big words. I try to make it understandable because I need it that way for myself. I think pastors, some of them, are intimidated because they don't know prophecy.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't want to bring someone in that maybe could help them, maybe because they feel embarrassed. How can I overcome that? How can I help a guy to get past that? You got any thoughts?
That's a good question, good thought. I think you're probably right. I think there are sometimes pastors are intimidated about that. I think sometimes because, frankly, brother, in independent Baptist churches, we haven't made it the main, or a main topic. We've been about soul winning. We've been about, separation, and those things are absolutely essential.
Sure.
But I think because exactly right that we are in the last times, and that it needs to be emphasized. And if we believe this book like we say we do, then it's a crucial part. And I think that we do need to put the gas pedal to the metal, and people need to understand that. So with pastors, as an evangelist, I know, and I've pastored. I kind of can understand their mindset at times, I think, and sometimes they are nervous about somebody coming in and teaching something that they're not sure where they stand on some of those things. But I think, man, if we can get your books out more, I don't really know the answer to that. I think if you had an opportunity where pastors would meet you and recommend you, I think that's a big thing. I think it's the word of mouth of other pastors.
Now, boy, it's so important that we help our people realize the end is near, because I think it would make a difference. I know in the 60s and 70s, late 60s, 70s, I've talked to some of the old timers. They said the churches boomed, and they said it was prophecy. Tim LaHaye, I lost the name of the book now. The other guy that just died, The Late Great Planet with Hal Lindsey.
Oh, mm-hmm.
That and Tim LaHaye had some stuff too, but prophecy got real big. Jack Van Impe was around way back then, and I think some date setters came along and scared our guys off. Yep. And so we threw the whole thing, and we're not going to touch it because of date setters. That's no reason to.
Right.
Bible theologians claim 1/4 of the Bible is prophecy. And I'm not denying that, but I believe prophecy is on every page of the Bible. I believe there's a prophetic lesson on every page. It's just harder to see. But have you ever noticed our songbooks? Almost every song we sing has something about the trumpet or the rapture or him coming for us. And I mean, a lot of those songs are written back in the 1800s. It was big then. These people looked forward to the coming of the Lord.
Yeah.
It is called the blessed hope. But when you talk to some pastors, you wonder, is it blessed or not? I mean, it just seems like it's not in their thinking at all. And I don't know. You got any other thoughts on?
Well, I think also, brother, is if we really get to understanding, you can't read this book without it affecting you. It's a powerful living book. And when you study the Bible and you see those prophetical things, and it just grabs you that, man, this is now. This is now. Well, that prophecy giving you that motivation, it affects everything else. It affects your soul winning. It affects your your separation. It affects your testimony because, boy, you know, I could stand before the Lord today. And it does. It motivates. And I think if pastors, you know, could get a hold of that, I know it's encouraged me.
You know, think about that. When that trumpet sounds, we are instantaneously going to be standing before Him. I don't think we really can grasp that.
Right.
How big that is.
Right.
And, you know, how much money I had in the bank's not going to matter at that moment.
Exactly.
And how nice of a house I had, or my nice truck that I got out there. It isn't going to matter.
Right.
A hill of beans at that moment.
Right.
Eternity suddenly is here, and I'm standing before the King of Kings. And the Bible does say, and this kind of haunts me, the Bible says many will be ashamed in that day. You know, some people are going to be raptured from the bar, let's face it. Some people are going to be in the tavern drinking. And I know not everybody agrees with me. They think, oh, you can't be saved and do that. I'm telling you, saved people can do just as wicked as a worldly guy can.
Yeah, they're still in this flesh.
That's right.
Like you said earlier, this flesh has not gotten saved. It's the spirit that got saved.
We got a little bit of time, not much. Just briefly, when you travel to different churches, do you feel that, is there many churches you go to, you feel like they really believe we're in the last days?
You know, I get into some really good churches, and there's some good brothers out there that I just am so thankful for, that are still fired up. They're still standing the same truths, the same convictions, same standards, and still believe the King James Bible, and, you know, they're right on target. And I would say most of the churches most pastors that don't have that passion don't want to ask me to come to preach. You know, and I'm a nobody, but they, you know, they're not going to want my kind of preaching. And so I'm fortunate that way. However, I do see, brother, there's a lot of our churches don't have the commitment.
20 seconds, brother. What would you tell our audience? Maybe there's somebody there that doesn't know Jesus. In 20 seconds, what would you tell them?
I'd tell them there's a God that loves you more than any preacher can tell you. He sent His Son to die for you. You don't need to keep putting it off. We don't know when He's coming. We don't know how many more breaths we have. Yeah. Now's the time for you to trust Him and let Him. You may think you can't do it, and you can't without Him. But with Him, He can develop you.
All right. Well, Brother Booth, thank you so much for coming on today. We're going to try to get you on again next week. Folks, I hope you know Jesus. Until next time, keep your eyes on them skies.